Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now. We're going to go ahead and get started into the presentation. Thank you for being here, Scott. We may have some others join here, some other new patients in a few minutes, and there may be other people who will be streaming this later at another time. So for those of you who will be joining us, thank you. This will probably be some of the best time that we could spend together. And the name of this presentation that we do for our new patients, especially for our new patients, called Better Results Faster. And it's just like it says, how to get those better results faster. And there's certainly things that you can do to do that. So I thank you for all of you who will be viewing this. And again, because this is very important information and we want to make sure that not only our patients, but people in our community understand this information. So I get started in the presentation. I think it's it's easier to be able to understand more about the presenter and the presentation if you understand more about the presenter. And so let me share just a little bit about my story and how I became a chiropractor. So my oldest brother, when he was born, he was 5'4", he was 10 pounds. My mom was 5'4" and petite. And it was such a traumatic birthing process that it broke my mom's tailbone. So if it's doing that to my mom's tailbone, then what do you think it's doing to this tiny little baby? And certainly causing some problems there. And then hold on just a second. I want to see if we can. Okay, good. I just wanted to go live here with my video. So let's go back to sharing the screen. Okay, so my older brother, when he was born, everything looked great, but eventually his sucking reflex wasn't working. He couldn't get any food down. If he did, he would end up regurgitating it. He had rashes and boils forming all over his body that wouldn't heal. And he was literally withering away. And my parents took him to doctor to find out what's going on. And his final prognosis was, you know what, he'd be lucky to live in an incubator for a little bit longer. My dad was like, no, my son, that's not okay. My son's going to have a better life than that. And so he took him right across the street to a chiropractor. And the chiropractor was the first doctor that asked what was the birthing process like. And that was when he found out it was a traumatic birth. And so he put he applied a little pressure right to that first vertebrae underneath the skull. I could feel there was a huge shift in that vertebrae that was putting pressure onto the brainstem. And so that's what was causing all these problems. So he applies a little bit of pressure with the baby. It's so easy to adjust. And it just slips back in place, takes some pressure off the brainstem, and instantly the color of the skin comes back. And within a couple months, he was a totally healthy baby boy. So literally chiropractic saved my older brother's life. I had chronic asthma when I was in my younger years, and through a specific series of chiropractic adjustments, I've never had asthma since. And so we've had some pretty amazing miracles in our family. So I want to move on to talk about, I'm going to ask a lot of questions. Some of them may be rhetorical, some of them may be silly, but I want you to think about them. Put some thought to it, because there is a reason why I'm asking. So are Americans healthy in general? So, and then the next question I want you to think about is, which country spends the most on healthcare? So the brutal fact is that the United States is experiencing an unsustainable disease burden. Over 130 million people today suffer from a chronic illness, and over $2 trillion a year is spent on medication and healthcare. So the vast majority of that healthcare dollars are spent on treating chronic disease instead of actually, what do we do to make someone better? Okay, now next question I want to ask, which country takes the most medication? So if medication is the solution, then the more pills we pop, the better we should be, right? No, not at all. So the question on who takes the most medication, the brutal facts there is that 45% of all medication is right here in the United States and is consumed right here in the United States. So that is not the solution to the problems. And I know that, you know, a lot of our patients get that, but we are in a culture that when you have any symptom in the body, that there's a pill for that. You just need to take a pill and all things go away. And I can tell you, your body is not deficit of whatever that pill is. The greatest pharmacology in the world is the one that is right within our bodies. So the next question I want to ask is, where does the US fall in the list of the healthiest nations? Well, if we're taking the most medication, we spend the most on healthcare, we should be at the top, right? No, we're number 38 of the healthiest nations, according to the World Health Organization. So we've got a long ways to go, and there's a reason why this is. When you look at healthcare, our current model is failing. We've got more obesity, heart disease, strokes, cancer, infertility, multiple sclerosis, diabetes, depression. All of these things are on the rise. And why is it? It's because we are not looking at health the right way. People have never been sicker. For the first time in the history of man, children born after the year 2000 are not expected to live as long as their parents. That's crazy. And the reason why is because of our understanding and the way our health system works. There was an interesting study in a book done by called Death by Medicine. It was done by a PhD and an MD, not a chiropractor. And he says that the #1 cause of death and injury in the United States today is properly prescribed medication and Medicare. Properly prescribed Medicare and drugs kills almost 1 million people a year. Now, what's crazy about that is, can you imagine, like, that should be on the front page of every journal out there, every newspaper, every television news should be talking about that, but they don't. Why? Because they're all bought off by the pharmaceutical companies. They spend just tons and tons of money to be able to get their agenda pushed out there on the media and the news and everything. And so they're not going to say anything bad about that because that's where their dollars are coming from. So there is a major problem with that. And so I want to shift gears. In the next few minutes, we're going to spend talking about you and helping you understand, where does real health come from? Now, one, are you as healthy as you want to be? And I want you to think about that and ponder that for a moment. Why are we in such a health crisis here in the United States? Well, there's a couple reasons for that, 3 reasons. One is people are not willing to take personal responsibility and accept what they need to do. Just like this COVID thing. You know, you've got, you're inundated with, hey, social distance, hey, be sure to wear a mask. But no one's talking about, how about get off the couch, eat food, eat good food, do things to be healthy, right? No one's talking that. They're all talking about how we can stay away from this scary virus instead of strengthen the host. So we need to take personal responsibility, exercise, you know, there's things that we need to do, but no one's talking about that. The second reason we're in a health crisis is because we have the wrong definition of health. We don't understand really what health is. And a lot of people think, well, hey, well, I'm not in pain, I'm not sick. That's not necessarily a good definition of health either. And the third reason why we're in a health crisis, I'm going to save that to the end of the presentation, and we'll get to that here in just a second. So I'm sure you've heard of this. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're all going to get the same results. So we've got to do something different to be able to get those better results. And there are 10 questions that you must ask if you want to be healthy. And some of these may sound silly, but they're important. So let's talk about them. Number 1 is, is your body designed to be healthy, or is it designed to be sick? Now think about that, okay? Our bodies are designed to be healthy. They're not designed to be sick. And if you cut your finger, instantly, within a couple minutes, clotting agents are going to be coming up to the surface of the skin to stop that blood and heal that wound, to where you can cut off your fingerprint, and once that heals, your fingerprint will come back in the exact print. Like, that's just crazy that the body has the innate intelligence to be able to do something like that. So we are certainly designed to be healthy, but sometimes when there's interference that is blocking that, then we can't be healthy. Number 2 is, your body is it smart or stupid? Okay, again, it's incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent. But sometimes when we think, oh, you know what, my thyroid hormones are not producing at the level they should, let's take a drug for that because the body's so dumb. There's probably a reason for that. So let's just force it to produce at the level it should be. There is a reason why it's not producing at that level, and that's where we need to get to the root of the cause on that. Same thing with cholesterol levels. Cholesterol levels are high. Okay, well, why are they high? Let's just not take a drug to lower it back to where it should be. Let's find out why it's not producing. There is a reason why our body is producing the way it is, and we need to find out why it's low. Now, here's a great example of how incredibly intelligent our body is. Now, this is the blood cells underneath the microscope. That's a bacteria, and this is a macrophage that is a part of a white blood cell system that is chasing down that bacteria like Pac-Man. It's just amazing. It just goes in there and consumes it, eats it up because it recognizes that should not be in the body. Just another perfect example of why our bodies are so incredibly intelligent. Okay, so the number 3 question that you need to ask to understand what true health is understanding this one. What is the most important system in the body for staying healthy? Okay, there's a lot of systems, but the one that's most important to stay healthy is the nervous system. It controls all of the other systems in the body. And so if that nervous system has a interference in sending that nerve communication to the other systems and organs of the body, then you end up having dysfunction or disease. Okay, now this nervous system is so important that when it's being developed in embryo, there was actually a suit of armor around it. So what protects our nervous system is our spine. Okay, and so again, so important. Number 5 is understanding is like can life be stressful? Absolutely, it can be stressful, and there's different types of stress. There's mental stress, would be like social, physiological, or emotional. And then there's chemical stress, so that's the things that we take in our bodies. Maybe it's eating bad or genetically modified foods that are filled with toxins. Or maybe it's someone who is a farmer who works out on the farm all the time and they're putting all these toxins and pesticides down. Or here in the city of Loveland, you'll see them go around and they'll spray for mosquitoes. All of those things can cause chemical stresses to the body. And then there's also physical stress. So there's macro trauma and micro trauma. Okay, so macro is like the big impacts. Look at this football player, he's getting creamed, you know, certainly that's gonna do something to the body. And then there's micro traumas. Those are the small things, the bad habits that you do. So postural, sleep things, sitting back in a chair, driving, you know, leaning off to one side. All those things over time can create those micro physical traumas in our body. Now, text neck is another perfect example. So you can see in this analogy here that when you're looking down at a 45 degree, that it can make that head weigh 49 pounds, okay? At 75 degrees, it weighs 70 pounds. And if you keep on going, eventually your head's gonna fall off and now it's 0 pounds. So, you know, we just wanna make sure that, that those things that we do every day are not constantly putting additional stresses on the body. Now, what are these things doing? Like sitting. Sitting is a new smoking. So we really gotta be careful about those postural things and the way we sit in our work environments. Number 6 is what is all this stress doing to our body? It is creating what's called a subluxation. Now, subluxation is a misalignment of the vertebrae, and it ends up putting pressure on the nerve. It can cause the disc to wear out, and the disc can put pressure on the nerve. But all these things cause joint misalignments, soft tissue damage, inflammation, nerve irritation, muscle spasms, and joint fixations, as well as just a stress response in the body, okay? So now the subluxation, so number 7 is understanding the real cause of health problems is a misalignment, a subluxation of the body, putting pressure on the nervous system. It's blocking that nerve interference, so now they cannot communicate to whatever that nerve goes, and whether it's a system, organ, tissue, or even cells in the body. If it's not communicating properly, it's not going to function properly. So what causes subluxation? Or subluxation can cause so many different problems, anything from headaches and pain syndromes, blood pressure, asthma, allergies. So a lot of these things are caused by that. Now you can see in this This is all of the nerves that affect the autonomic nervous system or the fight or flight part of the nervous system. It goes to all those organ and glands in a very vast nerve network, okay? So those are the things that we look for. Now, it's not just about pain, neck pain, low back pain. It's so much more because those nerves control everything. And when we have things that are going on in our body, whether it's a headache or your thyroid gland is not producing like it should, your digestive tract is not moving properly, you feel like you're cold all the time, or maybe you're hot all the time, those are your body, those are signals that your body's trying to tell you something. And just like a smoke alarm or a carbon monoxide, you know, instead of actually doing something about that, you just unplug it or take the batteries out of it. Okay, so we really want to evaluate, well, why do I have these signals? And again, so many people end up procrastinating that and putting that off so long instead of actually doing something about it. So the 8th question that needs to be asked, if you truly understand what health is understanding how well does your nervous system function. Okay, it's not necessarily about the pain, but how well are you functioning? Now, one of the reasons why we do those leg lift tests, it's a muscle test to see how well you're functioning. There's a lot of things that we can evaluate from that simple test. And again, it helps us understand the function of the body, not just the pain. Okay, now I want to show you something about when it comes to stress. We had a 55-year-old mom that came in with mid-low back pain, and she's got some twisting that's going on. You can see in the x-ray. She also talked about her daughter, how she's under a lot of mid-back pain as well, but they've just been giving her drugs to help with that. Now, looking at those x-rays, who do you think is in more pain, the mom or the daughter? Okay, definitely the daughter. Got a huge twist in that spine. So, and it's so much easier to fix something like that when they're younger instead of waiting decades later to do something about that. So getting checked for subluxations is so important to make sure, and we love treating families. And so when families come in, we can examine them, evaluate to see what's going on in their body. And even if they don't start care, at least they know, hey, you do have subluxation in the spine and it is what's causing your problems. Or even if you're not noticing problems, it can cause problems if not corrected. So getting people checked is crucial. Now, number 9, the 9th question is, what should I do to correct the problems with your nervous system? And that's simply get adjusted. You know, come in, get examined, find out what's going on, and taking action to help correct those problems. Now, back to one thing that's important that we always talk about is, what are the 3-legged stool of correction with the adjustment? The adjustments are not the only, that's only one leg of the stool. It's also breaking bad habits, whether they're postural habits or sitting or work environments, but it's also exercise. Exercise is that 3rd leg of the stool. So we can't do it just with the adjustments alone. It's a team effort, and all 3 of those are what make those stools stand up, okay? Now, I want to share a couple success stories with you. This is Kylie. When she came in, she had such major stomach pains that she would end up throwing up. She'd have massive headaches. And she would throw up to a point where she had nothing left to throw up. And then she would have dry heaves. She was in massive pain. The medical doctors did not know what to do with her. Very rare case. And so she came in to see us, and I'll have her tell the rest of her story. It's pretty
My name is Kylie, and I'm so thankful for Gateway Family Chiropractic. I've been dealing with a severe stomach pain and headaches for over 8 years. When I first started seeing the results, I was excited that I could start enjoying like volleyball and like sleeping better, and I could start actually doing things I enjoyed without the pain of my stomach like interfering with it. I'm just doing better through school because I can focus on school and not have to worry about my stomach. And I can do that now because my stomach pain is basically gone because of Gateway.
It's awesome. I mean, I'll tell you, most people would never even think, oh, stomach pain. What's a chiropractor going to do about stomach pain? You know, but we were able to heal her, get her better. But the body does the healing. We just helped remove the interference, and now she's doing awesome. So just really cool to be able to make improvements like that. I want to share another story with you. This is Rose. She came in just feeling awful, feeling like she was going to pass out. She actually did pass out when she was driving down the road. Her 13-year-old daughter had to steer him off to safety. And she went to the medical doctors, and they were like, you look great. I don't see anything wrong with you. She was like, well, listen, something's wrong with me. So we took x-rays of her, and we evaluated that first vertebrae right there. I don't know if you can see that. There's a big loop there. That's where the brain stem goes through that. You should never see that loop. If it's lined up straight across, it should look like this. So that's what it looks like after we corrected her neck. And she could not believe it. It was twisted so much, it was choking off her brain stem. And once we got that corrected, she felt like she was 20 years old again, and she couldn't believe it. I want to share another story with you. And this is Joe. Now, this is an MRI. And if you look where I'm pointing right here, the white part here is the spinal cord. And then the dark place is the disc. Okay, so that disc is bulging out and putting pressure onto the spinal cord, causing massive pain and shooting pains down the leg. This is the same patient on an MRI 14 months later after the adjustments. And you can see the spinal cord is not bulging out. Now, the disc is still dehydrated. It's not glowing white like these are, but the disc bulge is better. And these are the kind of things that we do. Most surgeons would say, you know what, this is a surgical case. You need surgery and you need it now. But there is absolutely a better way. So, so the last question of the 10 questions to understand what health is when is the best time to deal with your health concerns? And that is the third reason why we're in a health crisis. So going back to those 3 questions, 1 is accepting personal responsibility. Number 2 is understanding and having the proper definition of health. And 3 is procrastination, just putting it off. So we love checking families. If your family hasn't been checked, we invite them, come on in, let's evaluate, see what's going on. They don't have to start care, but at least we can evaluate and see what's going on in the body and help them to not only, again, it's not about pain and symptoms, it's about optimal functionality in their body. So their body's performing to the best of their ability. Now I want to share one last video as we wrap up. I love this video because it does such a great job of understanding the difference between a chiropractic lifestyle and understand the value of making great decisions in our life versus the slight edge of making bad decisions over a long period of time. So let's show this real quick.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
Man, that is just such a powerful message. I can't watch that video every time, and I've seen that video so many times. I can't watch it without having an emotional response because it's those slight edge choices that we make over time that allows us to lead a healthy life. I firmly believe that when it comes to our health, that we should live super healthy until we get to a point. It's like a candle. Our bodies and our life should be like a candle. It should burn bright and nice and bright until right before the end, flicker a little bit and go out. Instead of just gradually getting worse and worse and worse and worse over time. That's not health. And so it's the choices that we make. So in just wrapping up, again, if your family hasn't been checked, come on, get them in, and we'll be happy to check them. We'll give a thorough evaluation to see what's going on, see if there's anything that's going on that's affecting their health and achieving the optimal health. So again, I want to thank you for those of you who are on tonight, who will be streaming this later on. I want to thank you for the time that you took because it tells me that your health is important. And so I appreciate that. We want to get this information out to as many people as possible because understanding where true health comes from is crucial, and it's not from a pill. So again, thank you for being here. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.